Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Daily Reflections. I am ElsaMarie DSilva, founder and CEO of Red Dot Foundation. Thank you for being with me. It's been over a month. This is the 42nd episode, and I must tell you that I am going to stop at episode 50. So we have a little over a week left of these conversations. I just feel 50 is a logical conclusion, and then I will start something different. So watch out for this space. But for now, we still have 8 episodes to go. I hope you're staying safe and healthy at home. There are many out there who don't have that luxury, so think of them, spare a thought for them. And today, with me to help me reflect is my dear friend Sonal Kapoor from Protsahan. Hi, Sonal, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Still trying to balance grace and grief, but overall, I'm blessed. I'm good.
Wonderful. So, Sonal, I know you're the founder and CEO of Protsahan, and you're very well recognized in the child rights space. But how did you come to found Protsahan? Tell us about that story. I know it's very inspiring. I've heard it, but I want everybody else to hear the same.
It's been. It seems like another parallel universe. Once upon a time, it's been about more than 10 years now, and I was still working. Trying to juggle between advertising, doing comms roles at organizations, doing freelance work, and that was the time when I was 23. So and now it feels like altogether a different generation would have passed, in the last 10, 11 years for me personally. And I was shooting for a film that time. And I happened to meet a mother who was 37-ish years of age. And she was sending one of her 7.5, 8-year-olds to a brothel. So that with the money that this kid brings, she would feed the rest of the 6 daughters, 5 daughters that she had in the family. And this woman was also heavily pregnant, very visibly pregnant. So I asked her, what is it that you're going to do? I'm just cutting the long story short. That what is it that you're going to do with the seventh baby, which is, who's in your womb? And she tells me again, as a matter of fact, that if it's a boy, I'm going to bring him up, get him educated. But this time, if it's a girl, I will strangle her the minute she's born. And I think at 23, I didn't have any sense. I don't think I have much now either. But I just couldn't go back to my daily job of, writing and doing um, digital or doing films or whatever. I couldn't go back. So, yeah, somehow just Protsahan started. Within 3 months, we got it registered. Um, and the story is on.
Wonderful. I've heard that story so often because we are part of several networks, and it always gives me the chills. When you were 23 and you saw this incident, many of us turn our gazes away because we don't know how to engage and what to do. So, for those who are wondering, because when we sit at home during COVID-19, this is a lot of time to pause and reflect. They're calling it the Great Reset. So,
Yeah.
during this time, when people are thinking about those migrants, about the many people who don't have access to food, etc., how can they not turn their gaze away? What would you recommend to them? What should they be doing?
I think, honestly, Elsa, I think there's too much of stuff here. Here as in India that I am talking about right now. It's very easy for anyone to get the fatigue. Something that you call the compassion fatigue or empathy fatigue or the caregiver fatigue, whatever you want to call it, in different contexts. It's very easy to see a child by your car window at the red light day in and day out. It's very easy to see people on the street day in and day out. What we feel that, oh, we have a home, so hey, more or less all of us or our near and dear ones or friends have homes and places to stay and eat out. um, all of us are like that. More than 60% of India is not like that, right? And it's very when it's easy to see these scenes day in and day out, and especially right now when you have the strata which is now called the migrant workers or the migrant labor population. I think they are not the migrants, honestly. If at all anybody who's a who's on the in the power balance on the weaker side. It's us, because our lives will literally stop, or most of our lives will literally stop if these people didn't help us or didn't work with us. I think a lot of things, like in the question that you asked, how do we change this, or how do we not get fatigued, when we see these things day in and day out? I think it's important to understand that it's not these people who are working for us, but working with us. And I think these little things, they might sound too irrelevant in a lot of contexts, but it's important to figure out, where the power balance lies. And it's not always about feeling that you can't do anything, because it's okay to be overwhelmed. The times are such that it's absolutely okay to feel that too much is happening too soon, and with a lot of uncertainty in the future, in the so-called future, especially at a time when we don't know when the post-COVID, if at all we can use that phrase. I don't think there's going to be a post-COVID. Honestly, there might be a post-lockdown, pre-lockdown, but there is not going to be a post-COVID until a vaccine or something comes through. And it's important to do whatever little each of us can do. We can't save all the starfish, which are fallen out of the ocean because of the high tide last night. We can save one starfish or another starfish and another starfish. Um, Even Gautam Buddha was not able to save the planet, as one of my friend's father says very sweetly. So yeah, we are too little and too less, but we will not stop trying.
That's an amazing quote. We can't all save all the starfish, but we can save one at a time. And that's very important. It's the small actions that count.
Yeah.
When you started Protsahan, you didn't have any concept of running an NGO, starting an organization. How did you go about doing that?
I think I'm still learning, because it's something that you never understand what ATG and 12A and FCRA is on the first day. Um, you go on, and you still figure out, oh, this is how you need to hire better people who are better than you on the team, who will do a better job than you on the team, and things like that. And I think it's a learning. It's a lot of people feel that, oh, Protsahan has done things with the children in the last 10 years, but I have a feeling that more than what Protsahan has done externally, I think it's changed a lot of me inside. And learning with respect to running an organization, I think it just comes along. As long as you have the heart and the head in the right place, you will just keep on. You will just keep on learning. I don't have. I didn't have a like I say, I didn't have a business plan, like a B plan, nor did I have a plan B when I started Protsahan. So there was no option that if this doesn't work, I'm going to have five things to fall back on. It was always just this. So I think, yeah, and you fall, you fail. There are times when you absolutely crashingly will fail in running whatever organization or your initiative or whatever your company, for profit, non-profit, whatever you're doing. And I think it's the important thing is just to get back up every time you fail. Um, it's harder in our sector, Elsa, because it's when we fail, it's not just a few dollars, a few rupees going up and down the bottom lines. It's a lot of people whose lives get affected. So I think we also carry that thing that, oh, we could have probably done 20,000 times better, even if we are already doing 10 times more than our capacities. It's important for us, not just as women, I think as people, men, women, either way, to understand, to not have that burden of guilt that, hey, we could have probably, like, for example, in these days, when you're trying to get meals, hot meals or daily rations to the people who are stuck or stranded or lost, who have lost their livelihoods. We're trying to get them food, and there are always, as many calls or as many number of people who call in, and we're not able to help. Yet we're able to give them at least 9 to 13,000 meals a day. And I think sometimes it feels that we could have done better, but the fund crunch comes in place, the other 20,000 things come in place. But I think it's important to know that for someone who's running the organization, you will fail, you will falter. You just have to get back up every time without the guilt, because you're in there for a long run. You're there with all your heart, mind, and soul.
Thank you for the work you do. I know you're extremely passionate and driven and committed to child rights. And I've seen your work over the last 7 years, I would say, and I'm totally, totally impressed. Since we are talking about failure, and we have over the years discussed failure, and what we put out on social media is only the successes often. We don't really, as individuals or as organizations, put out our failures out there. But all of us have gone through ups and downs, and that's what life is all about. Today is a great day, tomorrow might not be so great, and yesterday might have been a little better. But having said that, what has been some of your values that you have adhered to over the years? What has been some of your go-to moments for confidence, for reassurance, validation, etc.?
Um, wow. I think you just asked me all the 10 years of stuff like in a little sandwich. Um, I think one of my biggest learnings personally has been, and especially in a space where everybody wants to talk about numbers and numbers and numbers, I've never really bothered about numbers until the day the annual report has to be written. Um, I've never really cared about, what we are doing at Protsahan. I think every child is important. It's not about only looking at the data sets and the statistics and going, hey, like 20% of the children in India are this, or 40% of the children in India, don't get that. I think when we look at statistics, we become too apathetic to feel the pain of a child or any individual for that matter, or any living being for that matter. To say that, hey, that if we are not able to kind of go through this, it's okay, doesn't matter. But that happens when you're looking at the entire data set as a data set and not as individuals or anecdotes or stories or individual lives. My problem is that I only work if I understand the pain or the urgency, or um, I relate to individuals. I don't relate to data sets. I never have. 20 years down the line, I don't know if this corrupts me. But right now, the data sets have not corrupted me, thankfully. And I think it's important for us to understand that if our work for an individual is right, if our work for, like in our case, if we are working with a child with all the intersectionalities embedded, if we are understanding what the child is going through in terms of education, healthcare, justice angle, all of that combined as an intersectional piece, I think we'll be able to do a much better job of, even getting the statistics right, the extrapolation of the statistics right, and that's important.
We've had this discussion often. I remember the very first time I met you in Kathmandu, Nepal, for a Vital
Yeah.
Voices meetup. So we are both Vital Voices lead fellows, as well as we are now part of the Bosch Alumni Network in India. And the first time I met Sonal was in Kathmandu, Nepal, where we had a small regional gathering. And I was so impressed with her work. And I had just started out with Safecity. In fact, Red Dot Foundation was not even registered. And we were talking about how do you measure success. And we had this long discussion. I remember Shohini from Calcutta also was there, Kolkata Shanved. And
Yeah.
she and you had a very similar opinion that you cannot talk about mass numbers. It's not about, the breadth of your work. It's about the depth of your work. And you have a very different view of success compared to some of the donors, funders, incubators, accelerators that were pushing you all to scale. And I want to ask you, 7 years now, down the road, have you stuck to that?
I think that's the only way I know to be. And because, see, donors will come and go, funders will come and go. My authenticity for my work will stay in my heart. I am answerable only to myself. Of course, to my balance sheets and my accountability charts and my annual reports. And that's imperative, and that transparency is needed. There is no two ways about it, also as a part of structure, and also as part of going back to the whiteboard and say, hey, this is where we faltered and this is where we're going to change our track, or do a course correction. All of those things are required and needed, and I'm not contesting the fact that they are not important. But for example, I always say that there is always this thing where on a number line there is dishonesty, honesty, and then there are 5 steps ahead: authenticity. How we measure ourselves. Okay, let's say we all say, hey, okay, we are not dishonest. But then the question becomes whether we are honest or whether we are authentic. And I think honesty is too a concept for me to adhere to. A lot of times we are also told, I think, I don't know, maybe you'll relate to that, Elsa, that as women, I think our benchmarks are supposed to be any which way a lot higher in the space where, you know, we are not led by, hey, if 5 crores is coming in, I will change the course of my, there will be a mission drift happening in my organization. No, I think if 5 crores is coming in, the donor should absolutely believe in what we are doing and understand. Of course, all the paperwork will be done, but I think that understanding that every child is important has to be there. If it's like, hey, let's just touch and go for like 10 million lives, who are we trying to kid at the end of the day? Who? I think, and as in terms of scale is not always led on a number line. Scale can be developing something so beautiful and so deep that other organizations just pick it up and kind of scale it up with their systems. We are so happy to share that in the last 2 months we kind of, all our last 10, 11 years of work, we were able to compile it, call it the Corona crisis or whatever. We couldn't reach out to more communities as we would have liked to. And in the psychosocial care and support for children, who are stuck at the margins, who are stuck with absolutely nothing really, but just a call to 1098, we've been able to develop a kind of manual for training the child line workers across the country. And these, the numbers are in thousands, along with UNICEF India. And I think when you develop something beautiful and deep, you don't have to be the one to go and do it. The scale will come if what you're doing is authentic, if what you're doing has value, and if what you're doing is actually transformative. The scale will come. If not 2 years, in 2 years, it will come in 5 years or 10 years. It will come. That shouldn't be a worry of a founder or of a young founder at all.
I have seen that over the years, since I've been in the sector, that there is a shift in thinking about scale, and they are now acknowledging that going deep into your area of focus is also termed as scale. So, good luck and well done for sticking by your values. I truly believe that you as a founder have to stick to your values, and we also at Red Dot Foundation are very particular who we partner with, who we accept money from, because we don't want to compromise on that, and who we work with. You have
Yeah,
to have that collaborative and the same value system to
yeah,
really impact your work. Having said that, COVID-19 has been really a lot of challenge, especially for children. We are
yeah,
talking about social distancing, which is, in my view, very elitist. Not many people can, especially in India, can socially distance. A lot of upscale schools have moved to online education, but what about those children who don't have a device, who don't have access to the internet, and who don't have the privacy at home? Or don't have parents who can help them. A lot of women who are working from home, or parents working from home, are complaining that the entire burden of supervising their education has now fallen
yeah.
on their lap. But what about those parents who don't have a work from home option, who cannot even help their children, and their children don't have access?
Mm.
They are part of your constituency, and how are they coping? And I also wanted to talk about, you stepped in immediately to do food distribution. So please tell us about, the challenges with that and how we can help you.
I'll take the second question first, and then speak about the inequity in the education space as we are seeing staring us in our face right now. Um, when all of when the lockdown thing stuck, the problem was not the lockdown. That was important. The problem was how nobody was given time or space to plan it out, whether be it the industries, whether be it the schools, but schools were anyway shut, the children for that matter. um, and a lot of people who are working in jobs, right? Like who are commuting day in and day out. So I think the planning or the way it was announced could have been probably better. Having said that, the reason why we just jumped in to we were never a relief and a disaster relief sort of an organization. We were always in the child protection and education space. But when you see people literally, if you don't step in, they would succumb and die. Then you're not left with much option to, or the luxury of an option to say that, hey, this is not a part of my immediate agenda of work. You got to do what you got to do, and in times of crisis, you have to step in. You can't say that, this was not a part of my uh, toolkit that I prepared, or this was not a part of my whiteboard strategy that I prepared for this year. So or I don't have the funds, so I'm not going to do. I think we are no more in that space where we can say as the organizations that we we cannot do this because there are no funds. Funds will come, and I've always believed in it. And when we started, we had zero funds. We had, most of our funding is restricted. People individuals who donate to us, either directly through the website, or individual donations are not restricted donations. They believe in what we do, and hence they donate. So those people will never question, hey, why did you use our money for giving food, and why not using the money, because they give you money because they believe in the work that you're doing. As long as their money is used well, they are happy about it. And we started the first few meals, Elsa, with just the crowd-funded money that we got. We raised a small campaign on keto. Yesterday, we just launched our Give India fundraisers page. I think it's important for us to, and then a lot of donors helped us give support. Ernst and Young came through, APPI came through, Tech Mahindra came through, and I think when you have partners like that who believe you, I think with one email they believe you, and they kind of say, hey, okay, we are behind you to kind of help you do what you do. Swiggy came in with support for about 70 to 90,000 meals that we have given with them already. Again, because the lockdown has been extended, again from 11th to 17th, we'll be extending our cooked meal support with Swiggy. Zomato Feeding India came in to kind of continue the work immediately after the lockdown is lifted. They said with the Poshan to Pathshala Abhiyan, they will help us give more food to the children who are affected in the areas where we work. A lot of individuals came through. Urvi Goyal came through from Zay Street, Chris from Shades of Happiness, and these are young people, right? Who pitched in with their support. And these guys, they don't have a lot of money, they don't have a lot of huge, base of organizations, but they chipped in with saying, "Hey, I'm going to send in, those 200 bags of rice, 15 kgs of rice each." And I think when you have individuals believing in you, it's a sea of support that comes through. So yeah, so even though we were not a disaster relief organization, but the situation demanded that we kind of pep up our leadership roles to kind of do what is needed, and we did it. In fact, I'll share this with you, Elsa, that and with all of us who are joining in. When this situation stuck, uh, I think for the first few days I was kind of lost in terms of a couple of days rather, that how do we maneuver, how do we do this, how do we struggle. I will not write about those things on Facebook, right? But I'm opening it up here because I want people to know that not every time do you have ready-made solutions, and it's absolutely okay. What you need to do really is to keep your head right there on your shoulders and say, okay, what is it that I do now? And I think we immediately got into this. My people who, my employees, so we had kind of shut down the organization, or we were working from homes a week prior to, or I think about 10 days prior to the state lockdown was announced. About week 10 days before, we had shut down the organization. And my employees from wherever they were calling in, ma'am, what do we do? Give us, like, just kind of can we do something more than what we're already doing? And I think the team just stepped up before I could pep up. And I think that's all kudos to my entire staff, especially Preeti, Payal, all these guys who've been just at it. In terms of the second question, or the first question rather, that you asked, how the kids are dealing with the inequity in the whole space. Yes, I absolutely agree with you, Elsa, that um, when a conversation, there's, within 2 weeks or within, I think, 10-15 days, a lot of content came up on Google or individual organizations who beautifully did well to kind of curate that content. But what we forgot was that 60% of the children will not have access to this content come what may. The only things that they will probably have access to, if at all, again, in that 60%, probably another 50 or 40% will have a smartphone. And that's so there's this thing that I learned again in the last month, that all not all smartphones have access to a WhatsApp video call. They have WhatsApp, they might have WhatsApp texting, but not all WhatsApps come embedded with a video call option. No, they don't. It depends on the kind of the phone make that they have. And again, without going to the problem point, one solution that came out of this whole thing that I think I kind of saw that was every child who has access to a laptop or a smartphone gadget, etc. It's, what they're doing is they're going externally to learn, right? So they're typing in website or online platform or whatever, or and they're learning with something external of themselves. A child who does not have access to a laptop or a smartphone device only has a pen and a paper. And something that we've seen with our own girls is that with that pen and paper, they are going within. They are making splendid artwork with, which has a context which you and I can never imagine, Elsa. And I think it's the universe has created things for everybody. Sometimes people go outside of themselves to learn, but sometimes when you don't have any resources, just that little guidance, you go inside to learn. And I think the teachers have to do so much more. Again, all the burden of responsibility, no matter how much we try to kind of, say that, hey, we are with you and we're going to clap for you, that stuff doesn't work. We really have to do more to be with our teachers and doctors. And yeah, to make sure that this inequity in education and healthcare is taken care of. There are people who have just come up on Twitter. Manish Mundra is one of those directors, producers, in the film industry, who's just come up on his own accord to give the PPE kits to the doctors and the healthcare workers. They are young people who do things on their own, and it's not little. It's not, one thing. It's too many things done by one person, and I think that's beautiful. That's what's going to change the world.
Thank you. And, I want to say that whilst you never thought that you would be changing the world through these small acts of kindness, you mentioned about the starfish earlier, you are changing the world. And even if you didn't want to scale in the way that others, expected you to scale, through your work and over the period of time, you have impacted thousands of lives. And those thousands who you have strengthened over the years will go on to impact so many more. So thank you, Sonal, for sharing all of that. I'm always inspired to listen to your stories. And I have watched you grow personally and professionally over the years, and you are amazing. And this is just the start of your journey. So I can't wait to see where, you take Protsahan, but more importantly, yourself. And now we come to how are you taking care of yourself?
I think, Elsa, something that I've personally learned from you as well, and I think I still remember that Kathmandu meeting, and we were picking up bags from the conveyor belt, and I remember having this conversation also. I think one thing that you've taught me is that there is no age bracket to start something new or learn something new or be something new. And I think you gave me that lesson 7, 8 years back when I met you for the first time. The way you keep yourself, I think there's a lot of stuff to learn from you personally. For me, I can talk about myself here. In terms of self care, I'm actually very bad at it. I need to do better. But I'm actually looking at the Surya Namaskars you're doing every day. So that's one inspiration point for me. But I think I think I don't know. I think I've started Netflixing a little more than I used to ever do in my life. So I started watching a couple of movies every week. One very, very beautiful movie that I watched recently was the Fred Rogers take, where Tom Hanks plays Fred Rogers, and in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I think it's absolutely beautiful and mind blowing. It's simple, it's extremely unlike any other Hollywood movie. And I think it's important for us as people, especially in the sector where we are looking at a lot of pain every day, to make sure that if our glasses go empty, if the water or whatever nourishment in our glasses goes empty, we can't pour to somebody else's glass, right? We need to make sure that our glasses of water or nourishment or whatever you call it, sunshine, are fuller each day. And for that, we will have to pick and choose who we associate with, who we talk to. We'll have to pick and choose what we read. We'll have to pick and choose what we watch. Because each of that is a dose of nourishment for our own brain and mind and like body. I have a very, very sweet dog. She keeps me on my toes most part of the day. So I have my own little things and people and places and videos to heal. I think healing is what each of us need, irrespective of where we come from, where we will go, how big we are in terms of the money in the bank accounts, or how small we are in terms of our mindsets. I think it's important for us to heal, and only we can put ourselves on the healing journey. The only thing is that we have to be in awareness of where we got to go.
I'm busy furiously typing out all your your words of wisdom because you have turned into a philosopher. Honestly, I have truly enjoyed talking to you. And when we're talking about self nourishment, I am totally with you on it. It is
Yeah.
totally important. You cannot love yourself. You cannot love others if you don't love yourself. That is one of my beliefs. And
Mm.
of course, if your glass is empty, how can you then fill somebody else's glass? So, self nourishment is absolutely critical. And I hope you will invest a little more, even though you're so passionate and there's so much of work to do. Please make time for yourself, Sonal, because there's so many people who can benefit from your energy. And it's said with a lot of love, because we tend to be driven by our mission, and part of the mission should be about taking care of ourselves. So I'm glad you're reading and you're watching movies, and I would suggest that we invest time in it. And not just Sonal, this is for everyone, and that's one of the reasons why I started Daily Reflections, was for my own self nourishment. It started off as a
Mm.
lark during COVID-19, to really have these conversations with all these amazing people like yourself who are part of my network, and just catch up. It's a nice way to catch up.
Yeah.
When was the last time we had a conversation? So since we can't meet in person, and I was constantly traveling, I said, why not have this conversation and broadcast it to everybody so that they can be inspired as well. What are you looking forward to once the travel restrictions are lifted?
I think the first, wow, I haven't actually given that a thought. Um, I don't know. I think the first thing I'll probably do is, now that you're making me think, Elsa, is I have to go visit my mom and dad, who stay probably just half an hour from where I stay now. But it's been over a month I haven't met them. I only speak with them on the phone, and my mom just keeps sending me these dishes that she's making. And I'm a terrible, terrible cook. I can't cook to save my life. My husband is such a better cook than I can ever be. And it's just that sometimes you don't realize when your parents get older or start getting old. We always believe that our parents are going to be 40 or 45 years of age always, but that's not how it stays. They turn 60, they turn 70, 75, and I think that's the only priority I have right now. Once the lockdown lifts, work will go on. The Protsahan I'm not worried about, because the team is brilliant. They honestly, they don't even need me. They're brilliant. The only time they call me is when some, even when when this lockdown phase happened, they called me to tell me, can we do these five things? Tell me which of these five is possible. And I think I would give that some sort of credit, that of course it's not come that, oh, I've picked up the right people. Mm-mm. There have been terrible hires that I've made. They have to be fired, and I'm sure, Elsa, you concur. But I think the good thing is, when we have people around us who nourish us, either it's the team or it's our parents or it's the close family members. I think it's important for us to also just say thank you and go back and say we value you. And post lockdown, I think I'm just going to meet my team, my people, my parents. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that I want to do differently.
Great. Thank you, Sonal, for sharing your experiences with us. It's been totally inspiring listening to you. I haven't even skimmed the surface. I wanted to talk about your work with senior citizens, but we didn't get to that. So maybe on a different show, I can call you to talk about that. Because yesterday, I did speak with Hira Mehta. Check that
Mm-hmm.
episode out. She does a lot of work with Silver Innings, which works on dementia, Alzheimer's, senior citizen care, and you've been working with Dignity Foundation as well. So,
Help Age India.
Helpage
Yes,
India,
yes.
and that's something that I'm also passionate about, senior citizen care, and yeah, maybe that'll be a different episode. But thank you so much. This has been absolutely wonderful.
You
Have a
have been
wonderful day.
amazing, amazing. I think I was a little jittery before I came onto a call because I'm not somebody who does video calls. But you just made me even get numb in my eyes, Elsa. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for just being. And yeah, maybe we'll have another trip together to another Kathmandu or somewhere else. And yeah, thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And for everyone watching, don't forget to tune in. This is the last 1 week of episodes coming up. Tomorrow we have Nirmika Singh, who's an executive editor with Rolling Stone India, another dear friend. She's amazing. So don't forget to tune in. Bye. Same time, same place, 10 a.m. on my Facebook. Bye.